Hello and welcome back to another coaching session from leadershipmentor.com. In our time together this week, I want to share with you some thoughts about providing feedback. Oftentimes you get this question, is this actually part of the coaching session? A lot of times we think that coaching is just purely asking questions, and for the most part that is what coaching is. But providing feedback is very important as well, especially in the context of within a business organization where you're coaching a team member. Feedback is critical, and so I want to make sure that we have a healthy balance of providing feedback as well as coaching. Remember that coaching is all about being curious, making observations, and creating awareness. So the curiosity part we've talked about several times, and that's where we just don't have any predetermined assumptions about what the issue or the challenges or the obstacles are. Observation means that we're going to be very present. We're going to watch. So we're going to listen for things that are taking place, maybe changes in tones of voice. We're going to observe body language. And we're going to look for maybe repetitive statements that are obviously an issue or a challenge that keep coming up over and over. So being curious and observing are very important. And when we do create feedback and generate that feedback to the team member, really what we're doing is creating that sense of awareness. So we can do that through questions, and oftentimes questions will create a sense of awareness just by simply asking them something that will make them think in an area, and then they come up with that awareness on their own. But there are times when we do need to provide feedback. So again, it's important that you stay in the moment. And let's talk about some of the rules to follow when you're providing feedback. The first thing I want you to do is make sure that you ask if you can provide feedback. You want to make sure that you're setting the tone to the team member. Would you mind if I share some feedback with you? I think that's a really positive way to state it, and it's a good way to segment from questioning into providing feedback. So as long as your team member understands and knows that you're about to provide them with some feedback, and it's simply an observation of maybe what you've listened to, what you observed, then usually they're going to be much more open to that. We want to make sure that we don't phrase feedback as judgmental. And that just means that if you're going to provide feedback, you don't want to challenge them on motives. We also don't want to use words like why. The word why, as we've talked about in previous sessions, is going to really challenge their motives. And we want to make sure that we don't do that, that we stay really independent of making any judgments or assumptions in this conversation. So we'd want to use a phrase such as, I noticed. We would use something like that in a conversation, say, would you mind if I provide you with some feedback? You wait for the answer, and then you say, I noticed that when you were talking about Bob in this meeting, and you seem to get a little bit agitated. Can you talk about what is around that? So you're providing feedback on something you noticed, but you're still not being judgmental. Do you think there could be another way of looking at it? And this is another good question when you provide feedback to encourage them to look at things in a different way.